What's up everyone, Jonas here for Thomann synthesizers. So the last days I was thinking about our approach to the workflow in general, and the idea came to my mind to make a generative dance music track. So when we think about generative music, then of course names such as Brian Eno are popping up, and the theory that we only set up some parameters and the machines or computer etc. is doing the music and the rest of the job. And I thought, can we apply this to dance music and dance music structures with drums etc. and not only generate atmospheric sounds for ambient music. In this video I will try two different ways. The first one is on the modular and the second is in my DAW. So let's start with the modular case. So dance music is working a lot with predictabilities, and we want to break up certain parameters to make them kind of unpredictable. So for example, if we have one trigger and every time the trigger is hitting we would have a different kick drum. Of course it's unpredictable, but in certain ways not so nice, I think, because we still want to have a balance in between predictability and unpredictability. So I think it would be interesting to have a generative change in the rhythm itself and not on the sound which is making the rhythm. Let's start. I've set Pamela on 140 BPM and we have one output which is actually kind of doubled going into the black sequencer, and the clock out of the black sequencer is going into the clock input of our Euclidean circle. And now I would like to trigger a kick drum, and this output is going into the mix up. So let's check it out. Here is just the kick drum. As we're using Euclidean cycles, of course we have a Euclidean rhythm which is triggering the sample module. So now we want to break up this Euclidean rhythm pattern, which is already kind of broken, but yeah, predictable of course. For that I'm sending the second output of Pamela into the clock input of the Magnus Richter Wogglebug, which is a sample and hold, but also random voltage control generator. And now I'm taking the smooth output, reset input of the 2HB LFO, which is just a syncable LFO. And now I'm using the output or the LFO for the reset of the Euclidean rhythm. What it does actually is a cycle of triggering itself all the time, but this chain has in between a random voltage generator and sample and hold, so that it's going to be at a random placement. You see, we have a different version always of a rhythm. It's never the same and really unpredictable. But as we have the same kick, it's still kind of predictable. You know, so we have a nice balance of a nice groove, but the same kick. So I could play this forever now and it's going to generate a complete different rhythm all the time, of course. Let's now create a little bass line or some low toms for the groove. So I'm taking the second output of the 2HP for the assignment of CV on the SADA envelope, so that we never have the same ADSR vector graphic which is going to be sent out on our output. For the low tom or bass line, I'm going to use the foundation oscillator by Verbos with this waveform going into our Optomix by Make Noise, and I'm going to trigger this one with the same rate as the sequencer, so basically on every 16th hit. I'm going to strike it. Let's check it out. So it's a quite boring, very steady tom or bass line. So what I want to create now is a kind of velocity and length change of the tom, and of course we want the tom to be more in connection with the kick and the rest of the thing. What I'm going to do now is take another output of the Euclidean cycle into the input of the SADA envelope generator, and the output of the SADA envelope generator is going to be the input of our quantizer. So the quantizer I've set to the F minor scale as the black sequencer is. When you think about Eurorack and CV, etc., then everything is just kind of power signal, and the modules are communicating with the kind of power it's sent to each other. So I'm using the quantizer to create not kind of pitches, but velocity, because when the pitch is higher, the signal is also kind of higher, of course. And this I want to apply now to our low pass gate to have different kind of velocities. So I'm taking the out, going to be the control of the optomix. So let's check it out. So you see, different kind of lengths and punches. But of course we can develop this a little bit further and make it more generative with an LFO assigned to the sadar. And you see here it's always generating different kind of ADSR curves for our bassline or mid-tom. Up next, I would like to create a little kind of clap or more abstract drum sound. And for this I'm going to use the Pico by Erika synth, and I'm going out with the stepped value of the Richter Vogelbock into the trigger of the noise. And then I'm going into the mimeophone of make noise, and from there I'm going to my output. So we can hear it's kind of abstract and very much unpredictable, but because we are using the Vogelbock, which we are using for the kick and for the low tom, we are still fitting everything together. I want to have a little bit of modulation on the mimeophone itself. So the planar is a kind of joystick vector LFO generator, and we are going to use this later on to trigger it and then trigger various things with modulation as well. So now I can use the planar to affect a lot of things later on, but right now we are playing with the dry wet of the mimeophone. Let's now create something more melodic, and for this I'm going to use the black sequencer, the Richter Vogelbock and the Poly Cinematic. With the black sequencer we have the possibility to set it on the random direction, so it's playing any random given value. So I've dialed in pitches in the F minor scale, and as you can see here it's triggering every time a different step. With the gate output we go to the trigger input of the Poly Cinematic, because this module is not only a VCO but also it is providing an ADSR curve itself as well. We go with the CV output to the volt per octave input of our module. So let's check it out. As you can hear already, of course, it's changing over time a little bit, but of course I want to have it more generative than only changing the note or the step. Overall, I also want to apply a little bit of delay on it. And for this we are going to use the Black Hole DSP by Erika synth. Again, I want to use the Richter Vogelbock. You can definitely see we need a lot of sample and hold for this. With the burst output, I'm going to modulate the chord select of the module. So let's check it out. All right, let's bring everything together. Alright, next up, let's have a try on the computer. For our approach for the generative dance track on the computer, or especially in our DAW, I was checking the internet and I came across an interview with Simocell and Batu, and they were talking about Reaktor and the tools you can use to create interesting rhythms. The first is called Euclidean Polyplex, and the second one is called Spirals. So let's check out the polyplexer for our drums. And I'm going to use battery for our drum kits. I've selected the DAW kit, so we have plenty of options to choose, which are really nice, I think. And it's more about the idea and not about the sound design. So we have a kick drum, some perks, hi-hats, rim shots, snares. I would like to use Reaktor's polyplexer now to trigger the drums and battery. For this, I'm sending the MIDI signal from Reaktor to our drums. So let's go inside Reaktor. And this is the Euclidean polyplexer. As you can see, we have 8 different tracks for Euclidean rhythms. So all of those are individual Euclidean rhythm generators. And with the pitch, we are going to trigger different kind of samples. Select 32 steps, common pattern, and the speed also 32. And now we can fill in the steps. Maybe increase it a little bit. Of course, if we have numbers which you can divide by 4, then we come into the usual 4/4 rhythm. But of course, if we use uneven numbers, then we go more into the polyrhythm section, and this is going to be especially interesting if we have more than 1 or 2 drums, because then it's getting quite complex and generative in an unpredictable way, of course. So let's select a second one. Let's fill it out. And you see, you can't even know and tell what the rhythm is going to be. You know, if we increase the numbers of tracks, of course, this is going to be more complicated than before. So all we need to do is actually we have to set some parameters, and we let the computer do the rest and generate the music itself. So let's now check out Spirals for our melody, which is also kind of generative sequencer, which is looking like this. So you're starting from a blank page, and now you can set different parameters, like the scale, of course. Let's choose F minor as usual. And you have the control over speed, the quantization, the depth, tilt, the rep, and objects of it, so you can make it quite complex and you don't know actually what is going to happen. So let's check it out. And as you can see, we can work with a lot of different parameters. And make it really complex. You can also set the quantization really weird and offset to make it even more complex and generative, of course. So let's check it out with the drums. Maybe it's working. And of course you can make it more generative and complex when you apply different kind of arpeggiators and LFOs to each other to make it more unpredictable. Alright, that's it for today's video. If you guys have any thoughts and questions and ideas and methods you want to share with us, then please put it in the comment section and we will get back to you. So thanks for watching and see you next time.